When there's calamity, when there's a disaster, is it God who is really doing it?
Oh no! This is the end.
In the pondering on this, you will realize the power that you have.
For the Father judges no one, but has committed all judgment to his Son.
The power that you have in your words, in your thoughts, in your actions, in your spoken word. You will realize that power not only as the church, not only as Christians, but as anyone. Everybody's words have power. Okay? You don't have to be Christian. But the church, the appointed priesthood, they have a power that can cancel out other powers.
Even though some Christians may not fully realize the power they hold, the occult and various lodges are keenly aware of the church's authority. This is why they go to great lengths to create counterfeit systems designed to buffer against it. Regardless, none of these counterfeit systems, no matter the sacrifices they demand, can withstand the fervent prayer of a just church.
That's why a church is really important. That's why the priesthood is really important. And that's why the Son of Man, that means you and me and all of us, have been given the power to either forgive sins or withhold forgiveness. This is a really important aspect, and it'll change the way you live your lives if you really understood and believed that. And if you stopped outsourcing everything to God. This happened a lot earlier on in history where they'll have wars and different things and they'll say, this is for God. Please name me one war that was for God. One war that you think is justified in the eyes of God. And we can look at all the different things happening right now, and what's happening is they're underestimating who they are. They're careless about their words and their judgments, not only with world affairs, but also within their home affairs. And what happens is that they're producing something and creating a reality that then they're blaming God for. So when we speak of priesthood, when we speak of justice, when we speak of all these different things, now Hebrews 5 talks about maturity. It talks about skilled in the teachings of righteousness, right? What are the teachings of righteousness? They're the teachings of justice. What is fair? Each of us has a responsibility to measure fairly, to look at something fairly without getting polarized. Now, immaturity is when you're very quick to judge. You get triggered really easily. You don't wait for the full thing. Kirby always says, please listen till the end, because if you walk away now, you are going to get the totally opposite message from what I'm trying to tell you. It requires patience. It requires a bit of long suffering. It requires a little bit of concentration, a little bit of energy, but everyone is capable of that. And then you process things, and we don't have to walk out of here having concluded or decided that this is the answer. Who has all the answers? None of us have all the answers, okay? But somehow we feel secure, or we feel like we have control when we conclude on an answer. If there's a battle between Christian and non-Christian, who is God going to side? The Christian. I disagree with that. And I think God would disagree with that too. This is immature thinking. So if we're within those frameworks, some of us have been, some of us are still getting out of it, and that's okay. It is an old elementary framework, narrative framework. And you need a system upgrade. It means you need to upgrade your framework. Let me tell you this, God has a covenant with his people. And he's never going to break that covenant. And you see that covenant in the story of Sarah and Abraham. But if you look at a battle, say, so to speak, between Sarah and Hagar. Hagar was Sarah's servant. She was an Egyptian. And when he appeared to her in the desert, and he said, listen, I will not leave you. I will provide for you, and I will look after your son, and he will have generations, and they will be blessed. Ishmael. And then she said El Roi. She called him El Roi in Genesis 16. And it's beautiful because El Roi means the God who sees me. The God who sees me, who knows my pain, who identifies with my pain, and who will still nonetheless stay with me and bless me. And it was really powerful because they had a special relationship, Hagar and God. And Sarah never had that. Sarah actually laughed when she overheard different stories, but he still kept his promise to Sarah. He's still the God of covenant with Sarah and Abraham. But his relationship with Hagar is so special. And it shows and it speaks. And we can interpret this as a narrative for God who is there for the ones who are marginalized and where there's injustice in their lives. He's not looking at who is Jew and who is Egyptian. He's not looking at who is Christian and who's non-Christian. He's not looking at this polarized thing of Ishmael, the Muslims, and the Jews. He's not siding one side in this whole thing. He's not looking at Hollywood or the church, right? I'm giving you just current modern examples. He's not looking at the Christians and the Buddhists. We think of this generation that was promised to the promised child, the son of the free, Isaac, the son of Abraham and Sarah, and you look at the generations that was promised hundreds of years after that, where did they end up? They ended up in Egypt. They were slaves for 400 years in Egypt. The descendants of Sarah and Abraham ended up as slaves in Egypt. Look at that as the reflective mirror of them having an Egyptian slave so many years ago and treating her unjustly. Okay, now did God come through with the redemptive plan and free his people from Egypt? Sure he did. He's a God of promise. But there's a lot of things that we create ourselves. The Hagar-Ishmael issue was created by man, but it was covered, redeemed by God. We have to understand the power that is being given to you and me. There's power in your thoughts, there's power in your words. Whether you are right or whether you are wrong, you are creating something. Understand that and now create responsibly.